July 16th, 1983, 7 of the Billboard Top 10 singles were British. That didn't happen by accident. It was the peak of a cultural earthquake that had been building since 1982, driven by synthesizers, big hair, bigger ambitions, and a brand new cable channel called MTV that American audiences couldn't stop watching.
Take a little crime to come undone.
20 acts made this invasion happen. Some you'll know immediately. A few might surprise you. All of them changed American music permanently. Let's count them down. Number 20, A Flock of Seagulls. Before we get deep into this list, let's talk about the haircut that launched 1,000 think pieces. Mike Score, lead singer of A Flock of Seagulls, was a hairdresser by trade, and that iconic winged coif happened entirely by accident. A bandmate shoved him away from a mirror before a gig. His heavily sprayed hair flopped forward, and the rest is pop culture history. Samuel L. Jackson referenced it in Pulp Fiction. The song it launched, I Ran So Far Away, was famously called the first UK hit owed almost entirely to its MTV video. Space Age Love Song followed it into the US Top 40, cementing Liverpool's most aerodynamically challenged band as genuine invasion pioneers. Number 19, Soft Cell. Here's how you know Tainted Love was something extraordinary. It spent 43 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100, a Guinness World Record. Mark Almond almost didn't record it. The choices were Tainted Love or a Frankie Valli tune. They went with the Northern Soul obscurity. Almond's vocal was literally the first take, recorded as a run-through to check the settings. They kept it because it had exactly the right emotion. Meanwhile, the heartbreaking Say Hello, Wave Goodbye became a cult favorite on both sides of the Atlantic.
I can see the makeup slide.
One duo, 2 songs, 1 accidentally perfect vocal, 43 weeks on the American charts.
Now 5 years later on, you've got the world at your...
Number 18, The Human League. Philip Oakey thought Don't You Want Me was a disaster.
Don't you want me?
He called it the band's Des O'Connor song, British slang for embarrassingly uncool mainstream filler, and only agreed to release it if a large color poster was included so fans wouldn't feel ripped off. Virgin released it anyway.
You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me.
It topped the Billboard Hot 100 on July 3rd, 1982, Rolling Stone's official starting gun of the invasion.
You know I don't believe you when you say that you don't need me.
Oakey recorded his vocals in the studio bathroom. Richard Branson bought him a motorbike as a thank you. He couldn't ride, so he gave it back. 4 years later, Human gave them a second US number 1.
I'm only human, a flesh and blood.
Sheffield's finest, twice. I'm curious, do you still remember this era? How old were you back then? Drop it in the comments.
Every breath you take.
Number 17, The Police. Sting wrote Every Breath You Take at Ian Fleming's desk in Jamaica.
Every move you make.
The same desk where James Bond was born. He woke up in the middle of the night, sat at a piano, and had the song written in 30 minutes. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 consecutive weeks in 1983, and in 2019 was certified by BMI as the most played song in radio history. Most people think it's a love song.
Every move you make.
Sting has spent decades gently pointing out it's about a stalker. The Police had been priming American ears since Roxanne in 1979.
Roxanne, you don't have to.
By 1983, they were simply the biggest band on the planet.
You put the boom boom into my heart. You set my soul sky.
Number 16, Wham. 2 things you should know about Wham. First, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go
Wake me up before you go. Don't leave me hanging on.
was inspired by a note George Michael left his parents on the wrong notepad, accidentally writing Wake Me Up instead of Wake Me Down.
Wake me up before you go.
Second, Careless Whisper.
Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could.
The most recognizable saxophone riff in pop history was written by George Michael on a bus in Bushy, Hertfordshire, when he was 17 years old.
No, it's easy to pretend. I know you're not a fool.
He never forgot the melody. It went to number 1 in the US in 1985. The saxophone player Steve Gregory recorded his part in one take. Accidental genius runs deep in this band.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
Number 15. Eurythmics. Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart recorded Sweet Dreams Are Made of This.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
In a converted church in London on equipment they could barely afford. When it hit number 1 in America in 1983,
Who am I to disagree?
Newsweek put Lennox's face on the cover alongside Boy George under the headline, Britain Rocks America Again. Her orange buzz cut and ice-cold stare made the video one of MTV's most hypnotic clips on repeat. The follow-up, Here Comes the Rain Again,
Here comes the rain again.
hit the US top 5 in 1984 with equal emotional force.
I want to talk like lovers do.
Fun fact, Lennox and Stewart were formerly a romantic couple before becoming musical partners. They broke up, kept working, and produced the Invasion's most arresting visual identity. Awkward, absolutely, iconic, undeniably. I hope you're liking this video so far. Show some love and hit the like button. Number 14. Culture Club. Boy George wrote Karma Chameleon on Holiday in Egypt. His bandmates hated it when he first played it. They thought it sounded like a country and western song. It became the UK's biggest selling single of 1983 and hit number 1 in the US in 1984. Accepting the Grammy for Best New Artist via satellite, Boy George told America, "You've got taste, style, and you know a good drag queen when you see one." Meanwhile, virtually nobody in the US knew that Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?
Do you really want to hurt me?
Culture Club's first hit, was written about Boy George's secret romantic relationship with his own drummer, John Moss. The Invasion had layers.
Smell like a sound. I'm lost in a crowd.
Number 13. Duran Duran. I spent $200,000 sending Duran Duran to Sri Lanka to film Hungry Like the Wolf. Andy Taylor contracted a stomach virus from accidentally swallowing lagoon water and ended up hospitalized. He later described the plot as Indiana Jones is horny and wants to get laid. That video went into MTV heavy rotation 4 times a day and won the first ever Grammy for Best Music Video in 1984. The Rio video, filmed on a yacht off Antigua, became equally inescapable on the channel. MTV executive Les Garland said of Hungry Like the Wolf, Duran Duran were getting 0 radio airplay. That was the greatest video I'd ever seen. $200,000, well spent.
Brothers got a date to keep, you can't hang around.
Number 12, Madness.
Our house in the middle of our street.
A ska revival band from Camden with a full brass section and a Cockney sense of humor walked into the American Top 10 in 1983. Nobody saw that coming. Our House reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Our house in the middle of our house here.
A song that is essentially a 3-minute portrait of an ordinary British family home, mum ironing, dad getting up early, kids causing chaos, no synthesizers, no new romantic glamour. Just horns, keyboards, and cheerful specificity.
Never slows her down and a mess is not allowed.
The tender It Must Be Love
It must be love, love, love.
gave them another US chart entry. MTV loved the animated, high-energy videos. America loved the novelty. Madness proved the Invasion had room for acts that didn't take themselves remotely seriously. Number 11. ABC. While most Invasion acts stripped music back to synthesizers and drum machines, ABC's Martin Fry put on a gold lame suit and brought in a full orchestra. The Lexicon of Love, produced by Trevor Horn, was lush, cinematic, and dripping with ironic sophistication. The Look of Love hit the US Top 20 in 1982. Be Near Me returned them to the American Top 10 in 1985. Fry later said, The reality was that Madonna, Prince, and Michael Jackson did it better, bigger, and more global. Self-awareness that sharp is its own kind of genius. A BC brought wit to an invasion that occasionally took its eyeliner very seriously.
Now I do. Yes, I do. Ooh, ooh.
Just a second, are you subscribed to the channel? Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Number 10. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. The BBC banned Relax from all broadcast. MTV banned its original video. Radio stations refused to play it. The result? It went to number 1 in the UK for 5 weeks and sold 2 million copies there alone. In the US, the first release stalled at number 67. A year later, re-released, it climbed all the way to number 10. Their Frankie Say Relax t-shirts outsold the actual single in UK record stores in July 1984. Writer Paul Lester said, "No band dominated a 12-month period like Frankie ruled 1984. They were the second act in UK chart history, after Jerry and the Pacemakers, to reach number 1 with their first 3 singles. The band was essentially a marketing campaign that nobody planned." Number 9, Spandau Ballet. True is one of those rare songs American radio simply refused to stop playing. A soft, soulful ballad built around a saxophone line and Tony Hadley's rich baritone, arriving at the peak of an invasion otherwise dominated by cold electronics. The trivia hook, that opening saxophone riff, was played by Steve Norman, the band's own guitarist, picking up an instrument he was barely proficient on. He learned it specifically for that session. Gold. Their anthemic follow-up became another MTV staple and UK top 5 hit. An accidental saxophone player accidentally wrote one of the decade's most recognizable opening bars. The invasion kept stumbling into greatness. Number 8, Bananarama. Bananarama's Cruel Summer was released in the UK in 1983. Became a moderate hit and then got placed in the soundtrack of The Karate Kid in 1984. Suddenly it was number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's not how hits usually worked. But MTV and a Daniel LaRusso training montage turned a decent single into an American phenomenon. By 1986, Venus, a cover of the Shocking Blue original, hit number 1 in the United States. Bananarama hold a Guinness World Record for the most charted singles by an all-female group globally. They achieved it largely through MTV rotation, cheerful persistence, and extremely good taste in songs to cover. Number 7, Thompson Twins. Despite the name, Thompson Twins weren't twins, and the classic lineup had 3 members, none of whom were related. Tom Bailey, Alana Curry, and Joe Leeway built one of MTV's most recognizable visual identities through hat choices alone. Lies, broke them into the US Top 40 in 1983. Hold Me Now then hit the US Top 5 in 1984. Bailey later reflected, "The arrival of MTV just as we were stumbling onto our style was extremely fortuitous. It gave us a foot in the door." He also admitted the channel's demand for visuals started consuming resources that should have gone into music. Few invasion acts were that honest about the double-edged sword. Number 6, Kajagoogoo. There is a direct line between Duran Duran and Kajagoogoo's American success. Nick Rhodes personally produced Too Shy after meeting vocalist Lee Mahal while he was working as a waiter at a London nightclub. The song hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1983, meaning Kajagoogoo actually outcharted their own producer's band in America. Rhodes reportedly noted this ruefully. Their follow-up, Ooh to Be Ah, kept the momentum going in the UK. Their androgynous image was, as one historian put it, perfectly aligned with the visual demands of early MTV programming, which is a scholarly way of saying they looked incredible on television and knew exactly what they were doing.
Hey little sister, what have you done?
Number 5. Billy Idol.
Hey little sister, who's the only one?
Billy Idol was born in Middlesex, England, grew up punk with Generation X in London, then moved to New York in 1981 with essentially nothing. No band, limited cult success, and a leather jacket. What he did have was possibly the most effective sneer in pop music history. MTV turned White Wedding into a staple before radio caught up. Eyes Without a Face hit number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1984. His album Rebel Yell went double platinum. Fun detail, director James Cameron originally wanted Billy Idol for the T-1000 in Terminator 2. A motorcycle accident ended that. The role went to Robert Patrick. Music's loss was action cinema's gain. Number 4. Naked Eyes. Here's the Invasion's great hidden gem. Pete Byrne and Rob Fisher, two former schoolmates from Bath, England, never once toured America. No live shows, no arena dates, no tour buses. MTV got them into every living room instead. Always something there to remind me. A Burt Bacharach cover hit number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1983 entirely on the strength of its video rotation. Promises, Promises followed it to number 11. 4 US Top 40 hits total, achieved from a distance of 4,000 miles. The duo later disbanded, and Rob Fisher went on to form Clemmy Fisher. The Invasion didn't always require a plane ticket, just a great video and the right cable channel.
I'm gonna use it.
Number 3, The Pretenders.
Intention. I'm feeling mental.
Chrissie Hynde is from Akron, Ohio, but The Pretenders formed in London, recorded in the UK, and are as British in sound and sensibility as any act on this list. They helped prime American audiences for The Invasion before it officially had a name. With Brass in Pocket,
I'm special. So special.
cracking the US Top 15 in 1980. Back on the Chain Gang
Back on the chain gang.
hit number 5 in 1982. The same summer, The Invasion was gathering speed. Hynde wrote it as a tribute to guitarist James Honeyman Scott, who died of a drug overdose in 1982 at 25.
Circumstance beyond our control.
The Invasion wasn't all glamour and Sri Lanka jungle shoots. The Pretenders carried its weight.
Sound of the river, you stop and you hold everything.
Number 2, Dire Straits.
A band is blowing Dixie, double fall time.
Dire Straits had been around since Sultans of Swing cracked the US Top 5 in 1979.
Well, now you step inside, but you don't see too many faces.
But Money for Nothing
It's a little faggot with an earring and a makeup.
in 1985 was their true Invasion era moment. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and won Video of the Year at the first ever MTV Video Music Awards for its groundbreaking computer animation.
Small microwave oven.
Irony writes itself. A song where the protagonist complains about music, video culture won the biggest prize in music video culture.
Kitchen deliveries. We got some
Sting contributed the I Want My MTV hook, a real advertising slogan, giving the song an extra layer of self-aware absurdity. They didn't look the part. They just mastered the medium better than almost anyone. Number 1, Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode started the Invasion era too cold, too minimal, too electronic for immediate American crossover. Just Can't Get Enough made waves on the US dance chart in 1982. People Are People reached number 13.
People, so why should it be?
on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1984. Modest numbers by Invasion standards, but they kept building, kept darkening their sound, kept finding new emotional territory in synthesizers most acts had abandoned for guitar licks and saxophone solos. By the late 1980s, they were filling stadiums across America. 60,000 people in Pasadena, California in 1988 for the Music for the Masses tour. No act on this list turned a slow start into a bigger finish. The second British invasion's most durable export and arguably its most enduring legacy. On that July week in 1983, 20 of the Billboard top 40 singles were British. Reporters called it an invasion, historians called it a turning point. What it actually was a permanent rewiring of how American music sounds, looks, and travels. The synthesizer stayed. The video didn't go away. And the acts on this list didn't just cross the Atlantic. They crossed every boundary between sound and image, fashion and feeling. Britain invaded. America never quite recovered.